Welcome back to the Success Solutionz podcast, where we dive deep into stories of those who have fought their way to success, uncovering the strategies, struggles, and triumphs that have shaped their paths. I'm your host, Eric Salinas, and today we're stepping into the ring with a very special guest. He's a fighter, not just in the ring, but in every aspect of life. Born and raised in the heart of San Francisco, he discovered boxing at the age of 17 and has since delivered punch after punch, not only to his opponents, but to any obstacle that stood in his way. With a professional record of 15-3 and 7 knockouts, he's shown the world what true grit and determination look like. He's fought on major networks like ESPN and has claimed the title of BKB World Champion. Listeners, please join me in welcoming the incredible Jonathan Chicas to Success Solutionz. Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm here with Jonathan Chicas, San Francisco boxing legend. So he's fighting out of Hit Fit SF currently, and he's planning to fight, make a comeback to the ring in about 2 or 3 months. And, the 147-pound weight class in boxing, better watch out. So, John, tell us a little bit about your boxing record, boxing background. And, yeah.
Hey, what's up, Eric? I appreciate you for having me on the show, on your podcast. We've been knowing each other for so long, and it's been a great journey. I first started boxing at 17 years old. I'm born and raised. First of all, I'm born and raised in San Francisco. Been boxing since I was 17 years old as a way to, divert my negative energy in the streets into something positive. And so I went into boxing at SFC, Straightforward Boxing Club, with Ben Bautista back in the days. And so since then, I've turned pro at 21 years old. Been now working under the tutelage of Oscar Rivadeneira. He fought Michael Spinks back in 1987, and he's a great trainer, so much experience. He was an Olympian for Peru, and he brings so much to the table, immense of experience. And so I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, Oscar, great guy, great trainer. He even fought Michael Spinks for the world title. And if I remember correctly, he fought him in the Olympics also, didn't he? Or he saw him in the Olympics.
No, yeah. He was in the same Olympics as him.
Yeah. And it's pretty interesting. They ended up fighting for the world title together. So yeah, you've had some great training. And I've known you a really long time. We used to train together. You've always been a great fighter, great person, inside and outside the ring. So I appreciate having you on the podcast. What's your current record right now in boxing?
Currently, I'm 15-3, 15 wins, 3 losses, and out of those 15 wins, 7 by way of KO.
And you hold a title, don't you, in an organization?
Yeah. So I back in 2015, I believe, 2019 or 2018, I fought under an organization that was coming up in the game. It was called Knockout Boxing, Big Knockout Boxing. And so, BKB, Big Knockout Boxing. And so we fought at, they called me up, they had already established the organization. They already had champions. They had been fighting, and they called me. They were like, "Hey, we got a challenge. You want to challenge the champion, who at the time was Pelos Garcia, rest in peace now. He was a champion at 140 division." So I was like, "Hell yeah!" And at the time, they were offering me $20K. So I was like, "Hell yeah, let me get in there." But the only difference was there was no rings, no ropes like an ordinary boxing ring. You know how it's boxed. This was a circle, and if you stepped out of the circle, that was considered a knockdown. And so it was a little different. We had to prepare a little different. We had to always have it in the back of our mind that we couldn't step out of that circle because that would be considered a knockdown. And so we trained immensely and profusely with Oscar Rivadeneira, and we ended up going to Las Vegas. They got us first class, picked us up in a limousine, and set us up in Mandalay Bay where the fight was taking place in a suite with the team. And so we went in there and we stopped him in the third round. And so we became the champion of BKB champion. I have the belt at home. I need to take it out of get it dusted.
Nice. I remember that. Yeah, that was a proud moment for you and your family and everybody that knows you. So I've always supported your career. We've been friends, ever since we known each other in boxing, and it's been great seeing you come up the ranks. You know what I mean, and seeing that you're still in the game and pursuing your passion and your dream. And now you're actually helping people also with that in the coaching training space. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into that, from being a professional into your training business now that you have, and coaching other people that are trying to get into boxing?
Absolutely. Well, it's been a amazing journey, just because just coming up, I actually got into boxing because I didn't know how to use my words, how to communicate, and so the best way to communicate was through my fists or through anger. You know what I mean? So, being that I have matured and I have learned how to use my words properly, and I've been able to communicate with people and be able to communicate my training system and have them do it, kind of like imitate me. So I was currently working at the union as a carpenter. Carpenter union, been doing it for 5 years. I'm still kind of in the game, but haven't worked it. They laid me off like a year ago, and I said, man, I can't just live off, unemployment. I gotta go ahead and get it somehow, start a business. I've always wanted to start my own business. It's just being kind of willing to do it and go all out, you know what I mean? Not being scared, because, there's always going to be people who are going to be negative or who are going to try to stop you from doing your business because they don't see your vision. So once you see your vision, you got to be able to execute. And so I got laid off, and I just, started going all in, I started with 2-3 clients that I already had. And then now I'm up to 11 clients that come regularly every week. I have some big wigs that are lawyers, financial executives, doctors, to kids who I sponsor 2 or 3 kids that don't pay also. So I give them free training just to give back to the community in a sort of way. So that's my business. My business is called Jonathan Chicas Boxing. Take it off my name. And so we're just trying to build it little by little. They say Rome wasn't built in a day. So we're just grinding.
Definitely. Yeah, and we'll make sure to add the your website down in the description. But it's definitely true. Like we're in school specifically, we're taught how to be like employees and stuff, but you're not taught to build a business. So it requires, just kind of like in boxing, that discipline and grind that we develop in boxing to be able to do that. So I'm sure that boxing has been able to help you, that at least the mindset, and transfer over into the business worlds to be able to build your business. So, that's awesome that you've been able to do that. And it's also, since you have a long career in boxing, you've been able to develop your network, which is also helpful to tap into, to be able to either find clients or talk to people to, learn a little bit more about either how to train people or how to build your business. You know what I mean?
What's funny was that, so being a professional boxer, I had a lot of attention. I had a lot of people, gravitate towards me, but it was my energy back in the days that was kind of, like I would push people away just because I would be strictly focused on my boxing, or I was just in a negative place. You know what I mean? So being now that I've healed a lot from a lot of the things I've been through in life, just being able to know that they want to be heard and they want to be seen. And so taking that aspect of, making somebody feel important is something that I've learned. And it's helping me, get more clients, just be able to attain them as I continue to grow.
That's awesome. Yeah, building rapport and connection with your clients is extremely important, especially if you want to be able to retain them. So that's good that you've been able to, utilize that, what you learned yourself, and make your clients feel special in that way.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster, bro. Like business entrepreneurship. I'm in the early stages. not early stages, but like in a great stage. And it's a roller coaster. So you got to be able to have some thick skin to be able to go through the lows, because it's where in the lows where you learn the most. If you still got the will to do it, and you're right. In school, they don't teach us how to do none of this, and they from the beginning, they teach us to be employers, bro. And so being able to, you know, adjust that mindset and switch it is a big thing.
100%, 100%. So what would you say are other like key lessons that you've either learned throughout your life or in the boxing realm that's helped you build your business?
So the main thing I would say would be perseverance and just going through the fire. Okay, so I got a good one. Just going through the fire. Like for example, I used to be um, you know, I used to drink a lot. I used to, indulge in unnecessary things. And so there were things that I was going through inside of me that would allow me to go to drinking and all these other stuff, right? But when I realized that I had to, once I stopped doing that, I had to go through the fire. You know what I mean? The fire is the negative feelings you have, the insecurities, everything that you don't want to go through, and you use other substances to deviate from it. So that's my philosophy for life. Just go through the fire. Whatever it is that's hard, go through it. You're gonna learn from it, and you're gonna build from it. You're gonna grow from it. And so that's my philosophy through everything I do. Go through that fire. It's gonna be tough in the beginning, and it's gonna burn you, but you will come out a better person.
I love that message, and I feel like a lot of, especially young men, struggle with that. If they grew up in harsher environments, and that's what they see too. It's like nobody tells them, talks to them about mental health and talks to them about like the right way to do things. Right. Fortunate for like you and I, we had like boxing to kind of keep us out of that, at least the majority of the time. Right.
Right.
But definitely, it was a struggle with the alcohol for a minute for both of us, and I'm glad to see that we're both living a more healthy lifestyle now and pursuing our goals that is going to, help us, not only us, but our families and our, the people around us also. So I'm really excited for you and to see, what's going to come in the future for you. Cause I think you're on a great path and you're just, you already have like you said, people are gravitated towards you. So now that you have a good message, a positive message, I think it's just going to be able to help that many more people now. So
absolutely. One of the biggest things was even with my training and with my like getting ready for a fight, I would be 110% ready for that fight. Sometimes I wouldn't, because I would let my friends, alcohol, distractions get in the way. And so going into the fight, I was like 90%, 100%, 80, 90, or 100%. After the fight, you want to be, you take that win or loss and you keep going, right? But I would binge drink and take 10 cents back. And so going from 90 to 50, and if I had another fight, I would have to go all the way from 50 to 90, right? And so those are just unnecessary things that I shouldn't, have gone through. There were lessons, but so now I'm at 100 and I just keep going up 100 because I have no setbacks now.
That's awesome that you've learned that through the experience, but it seems like you had to go through those tough times to be able to learn those lessons. And it's a good thing that you've been able to learn those at a younger age. A lot of people, they go through their whole lives and they're not able to learn that.
Right.
So it's really good. But, I'm curious, we're talking about this lesson that you learned. So what are some other things that, you've learned that you've been able to incorporate into your training, whether it's mental health, whether it's actual technique and stuff like that? What are the biggest things that you've been able to learn, as you've grown in the boxing realm?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing is being that I'm 35 now, I think the biggest thing is taking care of your body. Like you wake up after training now and you're like sore, my back be hurting. And so I think the biggest thing is just taking care of that body, stretching, a lot of stretching, a lot of recovery. Like as hard as I train, I got to be able to recover just as hard, And so um, it's just a learning process, even being able, because that stretching is boring. You don't want to sit around. You want to get that heart rate up. You want to move. You want to shadow box. You want to hit something. And so being able to be patient and being willing to sit down and stretch or do that yoga, do the Pilates, these necessary things that you got to do to make the career a little longer, last a little longer. Then that's what I've been learning. Just being able to, just take care of the body.
Yeah, I've been learning that too, actually. At the gym, I don't box too much anymore. Once in a while I hit the bag, but even at the gym, it's not as impactful on your body. But I still have that boxing, or military more than anything mindset from the Marines, right? Where it's like go hard, go hard, go hard, and
Right.
my body was like, nope. It's like you're not 20 anymore. You gotta like slow down. So
yeah, you gotta invest in recovery. For me right now, recovery means like ice cold bath, like going to banyas where you go to the sauna, steam room, ice cold bath. They got the cold plunge in there. I invested in some compression socks where you sit and it compresses your legs. The right nutrition, eating right, it costs a little more to eat right, but it's going to do you a lot better in the long run. And so foam rolling, stuff like that, so those are the types of recovery that I talk about.
that's good. Yeah. And I think also an important thing for people, like, let's say they're not athletes, right? They're just kind of doing it for fun or just for health, is preventative stuff. Also, a lot of people don't really talk about that. It's like, what can you do to prevent stuff? And a lot of that stuff has to do with like mobility, that I've learned is like staying mobile, making sure your body is continuously able to move in the way it's meant to move. Like let's say a lot of older people, they stop walking, they stop moving, and then they're like, they start curling up and stuff like that. And, they wonder why they feel like crap, basically, and it's because they stop moving, they stop stretching, they stop being mobile. And that's really the problem, as people get older, and why they kind of just go downhill, because they think because they're older, they're not able to, do the same stuff when they were younger. But I've seen so many people at the gym, and I always look up to the people that are, 70s, 80s at the gym still. I'm like, wow, I have to go ask them, like, how did you do it? Like, what do you do? And they're like, I move around, and that's the thing, is like, you got to stay active. So I think it's extremely important, especially as you get older. You don't have to always be a professional athlete or always have to like go hard, but a little something is always better than nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, they say the longest living people are in Japan or Italy is because they have no couches. Like they bend all the way down, or they, whatever they got to get, they got to lunge down, or squat down to get their whatever they need. And so we have become really entitled and comfort. Like we depend on comfort out here in the United States.
Yeah.
And so, it's just, you got to keep it moving.
Yeah, we definitely have gotten a little lazy here, and hopefully yeah. So let me ask you this. What would you say for boxing, right, are some of the biggest misconceptions currently in the industry, for both health and for business?
I don't know if there's any misconception in boxing. Boxing is a brutal sport. You really have to be careful because there's a lot. You just got to be careful. It's there. It depends, like what kind of misconception you're talking about, but there is none. It's all what it is. Like you could get hurt. It's a dangerous sport. You could get brain damage, CTE, cuts, leeches, people stealing your money when you fight. Like say you get, you have a fight, they offer you 5,000. You have the middleman saying they're going to give you 4,000, so that middleman is going to be kept with another 1,000, and then you got to pay your trainers, you got to pay your cut man, you got to pay your corner. So boxing is a brutal sport, and it's a sport that sometimes there's no great repercussion with it. Like there's no, great investment. And so boxing is something that is cool to do while you're young, but you gotta have a back door, man.
Yeah, that's one of the things I realized, when I was in the Marines. I was like, I started learning more about the brain damage of boxing because I still love boxing to this day. It's like my favorite sport. But I realized, I was like, man, do I really want to be, I made that decision, is like, do I really want to be having Parkinson's when I'm older? Do I want to have brain damage? Do I potentially want some, crazy, and I'm a heavyweight too. So do I potentially want some, crazy accident to happen to me while I'm in the ring? And I was like, probably not the best thing. So that's what actually pushed me into the like weightlifting, is having that mindset. I miss boxing every day, but I think that for my future, and like I always think about like longevity nowadays. That's my goal, is longevity. And I feel like that was a big decision for me that I made, you know what I mean? And it was a hard decision, but I think, taking the risk, it was either that or taking the risk, right? So who knows? Maybe I would have been fine, as many boxers are fine in their later years, but there's always that maybe,
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect, and for the boxers that continue on, and they really have a passion for it, because you have to have a passion for this to continue to do it for forever and stuff. I always like seeing those like old trainers, that are still in their 60s and 70s at the gym, just training people, and they just do it because they love it.
Right.
It's awesome.
Absolutely.
So talking about, brain damage and stuff like that, and, how harsh it can be on your body. So what are some ways you prioritize your mental health, you know what I mean? In the sport of boxing?
That's another great question. Well, I do. So now I'm 35 years old. We talked about that. We mentioned that. And so for me is I used to spar every day. My trainer used to have us spar, not like hard sparring every day, but some good sparring every day. Sometimes when I was getting ready for my fights, I was sparring 3 times a week, bro. And it was hard sparring, like going, I was getting ready for that 10 round fight. And I had to go like 8 rounds with tough guys. And so now that I have no fight, I just spar whenever I want to. Like if I don't want to spar, I won't spar. And so I spar once, twice a week. I don't spar I spar to learn and to work on things, and as far as mental health, I take care of that by prayer. That's that's there's nothing else that I really do besides that. Meditation, prayer.
I think those are extremely important. Yeah, meditation is extremely helpful to dive deep within yourself and kind of just sit there.
I'm still learning how to meditate, but that's like that's what I like to do. It's so hard being as a boxer. When you say meditate, you're like, that's the complete opposite of a boxer. You know what I mean? Because it's so hectic. It's a hectic sport where it's like all the time. And so knowing that balance is essential.
Definitely, yeah, and I think it's super beneficial for somebody that, like you said, has that going on in their head. It can be, if they're able to learn how to do it and just kind of take the time. It's always about taking the time, right? It's about practicing, just like boxing. You don't start and you're like a professional. You have to start from the bottom and work your way up. It's the same thing with like boxing or mental health. You have to be consistent with it to be able to improve over time. So, can we discuss a little bit about like the nutrition, the importance of the nutrition aspect for boxing? And do you like with your clients? Do you talk to them about that, or how do you go about that with your clients and yourself?
I don't. I really don't focus on much nutrition. I think I should. It's really hard because it's a fine medium of finding the right nutrition for everybody, right? And because not everybody's body is the same. And so I'm still kind of, working with my body to see what is the best thing for my body, you know. So, but as far as nutrition and boxing it's essential. You need it to make weight, first of all. Second of all, it's with the right nutrition, you'll go farther, you'll go farther and longer. And so, I think the best thing is to do is just eat your greens, you know. But then they have so many things that you really got to study. They got carnivore diet. They got, you know, the what is it, no carb diet. They have all these different like shit. Like you really don't know what it is unless you go ahead and try it out for yourself. And so I always, if people need help, I always tell them go look at what they want to, you know, what's best for their body.
Yeah.
What is it for you? How do you deal with that?
So I like kind of like what you're saying. I've educated myself in nutrition. I've hired coaches. I've talked to nutritionists, dietitians. You know, my previous podcast was with one of my buddies from the Marine Corps, and he's a dietitian now. So, you know, talking to people about it, learning more about it, I think is extremely important, you know. And
what have you learned?
A bunch of things, actually. So going on that topic, because I kind of want to mention this, it's funny because I remember, you know, when I used to box, especially with you, you remember how I used to cut all the time, right? Yeah. And it's never fun. And learning more about, you know, that through, you know, what I've learned over the years in fitness and nutrition, I realized how horrible that was for my body. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, I can't believe I do that.
You know why, right? Because the primary, like, you're taking water out of your body, but most importantly, your brain.
Exactly. Yeah. You dehydrate the liquid that's supposed to be in your brain to protect it. So that's the crazy part, you know. And then I would fight that way. But what I've learned, you know, is being able to track your calories, you know, properly so that you stay on weight. I wish I would have known that back in the day, you know, because I was still disciplined, but I just didn't know how to do it properly. It was just kind of like starve yourself, eat less, and then, you know, right before the fight, dehydrate yourself until you make weight. And, you know, if I would have known, like, hey, if I start off 6 months from now, you know, and I want to fight, and I'll start, you know, and I'll stay at that weight because I don't have to lose weight, I would have already lost the weight because I would have been in the calorie deficit. You know, I would have been able to be healthy, stay strong, and, you know, feel good during the fight. Because some of the fights that I had, I lost because I was just so dehydrated. I hit a brick wall. I mean, people have ever cut weight, you know what I'm talking about. You hit a brick wall at some point. You're just like, whoa, in the fight, and you're like, keep going. So, you know, I think that's one of the things that eventually one day I would love to be able to talk more about nutrition or be able to do something like that with fighters, you know, whether it's MMA fighters, boxers and stuff like that. So they don't have to suffer like I did, you know, and there's better ways to do it, I think, you know, and I think that it's just about educating them on that.
So if I were to fight at 147, what weight do you think I should be at in order to make that happen?
Well, what do you weigh right now?
I walk around at 160.
160 right now?
Yeah.
Well, how much do you know how much like body fat you currently have?
No, I was gonna go do one of those I forgot what it's called, but you know, where they check the body fat and everything. They have one out here in San Francisco.
Yeah. Because you're lean too, right? Your six pack is kind of showing a little bit.
A little bit, but yeah. After running and some like a little bit of fasting, I was like 156 today, and after running.
156. So you're a little under 10 pounds. I think the biggest thing for you would be just to be in a calorie deficit for a few months to be able to make weight. You know, you can lose 1, maybe 2 pounds a week in that, you know, so it's safe for you without completely.
So your body gets used to that weight? Is that what you're saying?
100%. That's how it is, you know, and then you set your new calories to that. You get your new your body to that new calorie range. You know what I mean? But it's about slowly doing it versus like just cutting everything out and trying to do it. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like what you were talking about before is like after the fight, then you just binge. You know, whether it's drinking or food, you binge because you're like, oh, I need to eat, I'm like craving this, instead of just being like disciplined and being like, I'm already at this weight, I'm good to go. And maybe staying within 5 pounds of that, that cut, that way you're a little heavier during the fight. But it's just more about tracking your calories, eating enough protein. Protein is the most important thing. So your muscles, especially during the cut, so your muscles don't, and then staying hydrated. So all that stuff. And then the fats and the macros, you can kind of play around with those depending on, how the way your body takes in the energy source, because those are both energy sources,
The what? Is that like carbs?
Carbs and fats, yeah. So for macronutrients, that's what it stands for. There's 3 main ones, and it's proteins, fats, and carbs. Proteins is extremely important if you're an athlete, if you're doing any sort of stuff where you need muscle repair, you know what I mean? And then you have the fats and the carbs, and that's where you can kind of play around with when you're trying to cut, see how your body responds.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is about staying on track with the proper amount of calories that you need to consume. So then that way you don't overconsume, you know what I mean? So you know exactly what you're eating, and you're not like, okay, today I ate, maybe, let's say 2,000 calories, but yesterday I ate, 3,000 calories, but you don't even realize that because you're just eating like kind of, what you want. You're like, oh, this is what I made today, I'm going to eat this. But when you weigh your food and everything, it's much easier to stay on track with that stuff.
And that's why this goes kind of like it's boring, but it needs to be done. Like, say for example, if you eat the same thing every day, what you're putting in your body every day is the same calories. So so when you want to do it the right way and do it right, it might be boring, but it's essential for a proper weight cut.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's like kind of like developing those new habits, because you don't really know just by looking at something how much you should be eating. You know what I mean? Because if you're fat or whatever, right? You've been doing it wrong your whole life, obviously. Right. So you don't really know how much you're actually consuming, because people think like, oh, I didn't have that much food today. I had a meal at McDonald's, I had a Big Mac or whatever, number 1 or whatever it is over there, and then they think that that's like not a lot of food because they didn't, they technically didn't eat a lot of food. They had 1 meal, but that could be like 2,500 calories. You know what I mean? So that's like everything that you should eat in a day versus you have, some homemade chicken breasts, you know what I mean? With a little bit of rice and a lot of veggies, that's like nothing, maybe like 500 calories. You know what I mean?
Oh, they'll have like number 1 on the whatever it is at McDonald's, and then they'll have a salad with hella dressing, thinking that it's hella healthy. But it's like that dressing is another 1,500 calories. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but even with that, there's dressings that you can get that are low calorie. So it's even about understanding that. It's like if I can't eat something,
that's what I'm saying. That they think they haven't ate much when they just ate 1 meal in the beginning and then they ate a salad. But you got to understand that salad had all that dressing in it. You know what I mean? Which raised your 2,500 that you ate in the morning. Now you got 3,500 calories. And so knowing what you put in, like you said, is important.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about veggies is it's like very low calories, all the veggies, salads and stuff like that. But it is about understanding what you're consuming and putting into your body in a caloric, way, essentially, because there's foods that are, that are higher in calories, and there's foods that are a lot less in calories. And it's usually whole foods. I'm sure you've heard of people talking about whole foods, like basically regular food, steak, chicken, fish, stuff like that, vegetables, nuts and stuff like that. And like even like grains and like rice and, all that stuff. That's all like whole foods,
Oh, what the biggest thing that I'm learning is inflammation. Like what causes me to inflame? Because there's times where I'll eat something and I'll get like a little bubble of stomach, you know what I mean? So that's inflammation. And I really got to figure out what it is that is inflaming me.
Yeah, there's actually a bunch of foods. If you go to Google and you type in like what foods cause inflammation, you can get a list of foods as well as like the way you cook something, like certain oils that could cause inflammation also. You know what I mean? So it's also understanding that, all that stuff is super beneficial to learn. So, like you don't get inflamed.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me ask you about like more about your business. So
Yeah.
when you have your clients and stuff, how do you tailor, programs to their specific needs, or how do you go about like training your clients currently?
That's a great question. I think the first thing, as you know, because I'm teaching boxing, so the first thing is fundamentals, the basic fundamentals, and always making sure they have the basics down. Like my trainer Oscar he was telling me the other day, he was like, "Bro, like if I get a fighter, I'm I'm gonna work him on that one specific thing before I move on to the next thing." And so that's where I'm starting to really integrate into my training is get that first thing down. So the first thing would be your footstep, forward, back, side to side. You know what I mean? And so if they're not doing it right, I shouldn't move on to the next thing. And so I'm integrating that into my training system, making sure that everything is properly down to the fundamentals, and then I'll move on to the next one. So I start them off footwork, going back and forth, side to side. Don't cross your legs. Then we go off to the punches, the jab. That jab is really the most important punch in the game of boxing, and it's a hard punch to perfect, and so we could stay on that for a while, like just jabbing the whole time. You know what I mean? And then 1 2, 1 2 3, and then just adding onto that, and then putting combination, slipping, moving, and then I use other forms of techniques like using the rope so they can go under. So there's a lot of different drills that I could do with my clients, and so I had a client, Mark, who just fought in the Masters. It was 35 and over. You have to be 35 and over. He's 58 years old, and he came from a different trainer that did a great job with him. I just, helped align him to like my style, and I had him moving and grooving, bro. And so we went to the Masters. We fought the first fight, and he outboxed the dude. Look hella nice. Everybody was like, "Damn, your fighter look good." And then at night, after a fight, we have the next fight the next day, and so that night we should have gone straight to the room and rested. Man, we were tired, bro. And so we went to dinner with his family. We ended up walking the strip, and then we went to bed. I went to bed hella late. Had to wake up hella early at 6 a.m. Go weigh in again. And so the little things like that, as a boxer, as a trainer, I had to like let him know, hey, we got to go home and rest. And I failed to do that, and so I take little blame in that. And so that rest is really important, bro. And so we ended up at the next fight, and the guy was from Colorado, from the top of Colorado where they have high elevation. And so we're like, bro, he's gonna come with it. And he came with it, bro. He threw nonstop punches, bro. Mark just didn't have the extra energy to keep him off, but it was a great fight, probably fight of the night. Um, and Mark lost by a small margin, but it was a great fight, and it was a lesson. I mean, we don't lose; we just learn lessons, And the lesson was rest right after a fight. If you're in a tournament, make sure you go home, you rest, you get the adequate, necessary nutrition back in your body, hydration, and the rest, and then do it again the next day. And you don't stop until you're done with your tournament.
I completely agree with that. That's a good lesson learned. But I'm kind of curious too, because you said, it was a great fight and he still fought, although he was a little tired, and it seems like you've been able to like build some resilience and mental toughness in your fighters. And how do you go about that with your clients and with your fighters that you currently have? How do you do that?
Through my training regimen. And so my training regimen, my trainer always pushed me hard. And so if I push my trainers, I push my clients depending on how I see them. If they can go harder, I'm gonna push them harder. And if they can go harder, that means they got the resilience in them. You just got to get it out of them. it's not on them, it's in them. So we just got to get it out of them, right? And so a lot of times I know they can do it, and I push them, and they after they get pushed, they have that confidence that they're like, oh man, I can do it. You know what I mean? And so once they see that, you build their confidence, and it goes from there.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's always interesting to see when somebody shows up at the gym, how like tough they're going to be. Sometimes it's not usually the guys that you expect that are tough, but
Right.
they kind of surprise you. It's always nice to see that, you're like, all right,
And
you got it in you.
And one of the best qualities that a trainer can have is a client who listens, like, do this, coachable. Yeah, exactly. Coachable. They're coachable. And I love a coachable client because you know what it takes. And so if they listen to you, you get them to the finish line.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. How have you found, like, or out of all your clients, like, are like the majority of them coachable, or like, is it hard for some of them to be coachable? Like, what is your experience with that with your clients?
Thankfully, thank God, I've I think I attract like coachable clients because like 99% of them are coachable, and it's just what I attract. You know what I mean? And so they know if they come to me, I'm gonna push them. And so if they don't want to be pushed, bro, and they come to a first session, they won't come back to the next session because they just want to. And then I know like certain people that don't want to take it to, they don't want to fight or nothing like that. But I still push them, but they're able to do it. They listen, and so for the most part, everybody's 100% with me.
That's good. I think your resume helps too. They know that you know what you're talking about, so they're either put up or shut up.
Yeah, exactly. And then being a trainer is kind of like a psychologist too. You gotta listen to them, and you gotta help them out mentally. And so that's a challenge that I've been learning. Just being able to say the right things and listen and take that into account. You know what I mean? Because we all got problems, so we got to be able to as trainers be able to be a light, not a darkness. Meaning that we got to be able to add to their good, not to their bad, and being positive is part of that.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, and I think that's going to take you a long way in your business, honestly. Because I used to have a trainer when I kind of started into the weightlifting stuff, and not a trainer, but like a lifting coach. And I started getting injured. I was on a cut. I had cut like almost 80 pounds, and this was over a long period of time. This was like the right way, right? And I started getting injuries, and I told him, I was like, hey man, I was like, I'm starting to get injured. And he was like, he's like, that's fine. It happens. He's like, suck it up. He was like, I was in the Navy and blah, blah, blah. I was like, bro, I was a Marine. I'm a little harder than you are. You know what I mean? I was like, I know how to suck it up. I was like, I'm not in this to get injured. I'm in this to better myself. So yeah, I ended up having to drop that coach, because he was not beneficial. He's not listening to me, as you're saying. So I'm glad to hear that you're able to do that with your clients. I think that's extremely beneficial for your clients and for you as a trainer to be able to have your clients go a lot further than they would.
Yeah, like I have some kids now that are getting injured like outside of the boxing. And it's kind of annoying because, like, for me coming up, if I had an injury, I wanted this bad. So I was like, I was training with, I don't know if you remember, I had a cast on and I would just be throwing jabs, or I'd be sparring with one hand. And if I had a blister on my feet, I would suck it up and, go southpaw, make sure that blister didn't affect me on that side. If I had a strain on one shoulder, I'm going to use the other shoulder. And so it's really how bad you want it, bro. Like there's these kids, they're entitled. Sometimes they come from an entitled family. And so they're not able to, this is a poor man's sport, man. So a lot of the champions are people from the gutter, from the streets, from the bottom. And so they have to fight their way to the top. And that's the only difference here in San Francisco, that the city has become a little entitled. Like some of these kids not all these kids, because there's definitely kids that really want it and they're gonna get it. But some of these kids, little small things hurt them and bother them, and it's like, bro, like, there's a medium where you want to be listening and you want to be receptive, but also you gotta be like, come on, bro, like you can't be no wuss. Come on, let's get it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely times and places for that, like if I've gone when I was used to box, I messed up my hand, you know what I mean? Hitting something, and you have to use the other hand to train, and that's
Right.
completely fine, but certain injuries you gotta watch out for. But when it's like you still, like, even with training now for fitness, right? I've learned, like, if my one shoulder or one arm is injured, I can still use my legs to train.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not, a lot of people that are like, oh, my hand hurts, I'm gonna stop training. You know what I mean?
Right,
It's
right.
like, nah, you can still go use your legs or do something, go for a walk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Do something, you know what I mean? Not just like stop completely, but when there's a hardcore injury, then you got to pay attention to it. You know what I mean? But
Right.
yeah, if you can still, move another body part, you can always hit it at the gym. That's
Yeah.
my mindset. So let's move to the next question. I'm curious for you, now that you're kind of getting your business up and running, like, how has the business side of boxing, you know what I mean, and the rise of social media been able to help you with your business?
So the rise of social media is cool. Like, everybody's now, you're able to promote yourself in a way that a lot of people are able to see. Social media has been it's been really helpful. You get people that you don't know, they're able to connect with you through there. And so it's been cool. Like, I've honestly got a few people from social media. I think I have to go a little harder on my brand, like, just so these are some of the challenges, just um, building the brand and how to market your brand. Other things is how to be a bigger presence in social media. And there's all blueprints for these. You just gotta go out and look for them and capitalize on them. And so I think the biggest thing for social media is just being able to be present and have people, like, really part of it and into it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and you're 100% right. There's strategies that you can implement for your own business, that you can do either yourself, or you can get help from people. I would highly recommend for you, if you're looking into that, just to do what's called or look into a content strategy specifically for whatever platform that you're going to look into. And that'll be extremely beneficial for you, because you'll be able to create a plan essentially that you can follow. You know what I mean? And yeah, I would start off with like one platform. And if you're doing like videos and stuff like that, the cool thing about those is you can repurpose. That's the word that's used to be able to post on the other platforms. You can post the same content on other platforms, let's say TikTok, Facebook, even YouTube Shorts if it's like short form content, right? So there's a bunch of stuff, like, even with I've seen that you've been doing some interviews, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can those are like longer form videos. What you can essentially do too is you can post those on YouTube, right? Kind of like I'm going to do with this video, and then you can chop those, or get an editor or do it yourself, chop those pieces up, and then post that on your social media platforms, to make it easier in a way, but you're still posting content, giving value to your potential clients, to your audience and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So there's a bunch of different ways you can do that.
Absolutely. What was cool is I had a client and I went to one of her birthday parties, and then I met with she was a marketing for, I think, LinkedIn. She did all the marketing, and I gave her a free class, and then she just wrote down a whole plan. Now I have the plan. It's just being able to follow it, and that's why it just, for me, it gets kind of like, fuck, where do I start? And so that's where I'm at right now. Where do I start? How do I break it down? And these are little steps and little challenges that I have. But yeah, it's part of learning.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to talk a little offline, and then I can kind of guide you in the right direction, I wouldn't mind, helping you out a little bit, and and showing you what's up, showing you how I kind of help my clients and stuff. And
tell me a little bit about a little about your business, or is that off topic?
Well, I can discuss it a little bit. What I do is I help basically, I've niched down to like personal trainers, fitness coaches and stuff like that. And I teach them how to start their business online. So that's what I do. That's why, I know a lot about social media, and all these platforms, and understanding how to create plans to build your business. I know how to build the systems, how to teach people the systems that they need to utilize to be able to coach people online, sell online, market online. All these things are what I focus on with my clients. And I even know how to do like website design and build websites and stuff like that. That's not like my go-to, you know what I mean? I do more of the consulting / coaching, which is like kind of what you do with training, right? You coach people, you don't like fight for them, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's kind of what I help my clients with currently.
Cool.
But yeah, let me ask you, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face, as a boxing trainer in San Francisco?
Well, there's always challenges. I don't know specifically if I have any challenges. I think just there's a lot of trainers in San Francisco, and being that boxing has risen with social media, I think particular because of social media, it's been, very popular, especially with Jake Paul and all these, YouTubers doing boxing. But boxing is just a great form of cardio, of mental toughness and cardio. It's a good workout for your shoulders, for your conditioning, for your lungs. And so there's a lot of trainers now that are being involved and they have no credentials, right? And which is okay. They feel like they could teach the game and it's cool. But being that I have credentials, I was a professional boxer, 15 wins, 3 losses, 37 amateur fights, been sparring with the top dogs, Amir Khan, Sean Porter, Robert Guerrero, to name a few. And so I have all that experience. That helps me out as a trainer. And so some of the challenges I have would probably be just, I think marketing more, putting myself out there and just small things like that.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important, especially building your personal brand either as a coach or as a fighter yourself, And I've seen a lot of people on social media, they're doing that right now. More so like in the MMA field, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'd love to kind of show you afterwards a little bit like of some people that I feel personally are doing it right. They're able to build their platform, and they're just like, just documenting their journey through what they're doing, right? And then just posting it and then giving little like, advice or talking about how they did it. I think it's extremely helpful because at the end of the day, social media is what? It's a social media platform. It's about people being social, connecting with each other. A lot of people like try to view it as like it needs to be like a TV commercial or something like that, but it doesn't have to be that serious. It's about connecting with your audience so they see the real you, not just like some fake version of you. You know what I mean?
All right.
But yeah, talking about like we're discussing the boxing realm. I'm kind of curious since you brought up Jake Paul and stuff, and he just came out saying that he's going to fight Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I'm kind of curious to hear that.
I really can. Well, I think there's like a for sure clause because I know when Mike Tyson fought Roy Jones Jr., there was a clause where they couldn't knock each other out, right? Specifically Mike Tyson because Roy Jones looked terrible. But I think it's just a money fight. Like it's like everybody's talking about it. It's number one trending, and I think it's just it's good for the sport. People is going to be a lot of eyes on that event. Netflix is being involved. That's like a big thing. And so my thing is just I think it's going to be a show. Entertainment. This is what it's all about, being an entertainer. And Jake Paul is number one at that. He's a great entertainer. Then you got the name of Mike Tyson behind you. You know what I mean? So it's gonna do numbers, bro. And so that's what it's all about, numbers. You know, when I used to fight, they used to be like, I'd be like, my manager would ask somebody, you know, say there was a fight in Redwood City. We would ask the promoters, hey, we want to be on that card. And so the promoters would be like, how many tickets can you sell? How many people can you put on in the seats? And so at the end of the day, man, it's all about how many people you could put on in those seats and how much money you could revenue bring in, you know. And so that's what it's all about in for this, for Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, how much money they can make, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
And once they see they can make all that money, it's gonna continue. You know what I mean? Because you got Netflix putting up money now. It's a big deal. So it's good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hate on Jake Paul, you know, but one thing that, you know, they have to admit is he is a great business guy. He is a great marketer, and he knows how to make money for these fighters, you know. A lot of these MMA guys too that have never made that much in one fight, he's kind of hooking them up, you know.
Right.
They don't mind getting knocked out for him or whatever, you know. They're like, I just got a payday, you know, whatever. Who cares what everybody else thinks? So, you know, that's one good thing I would say he's doing for the sport of boxing, in my opinion, you know.
We just had the guy. He just fought that guy from the Bay Area, Ryan. You know what I mean? He used to be under my cards, and I'm not sure. You know, don't put my word on this, but I think he got like 500K. So why not? You know what I mean?
Why not? You know, I'm sure he wasn't making anywhere near that before in any of his fights.
Right. Now you can buy a house, reinvest that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that was one of your questions. You know, I think as a fighter, being able to reinvest your money is important.
Yeah, learning the business game, the business side of things.
Yeah.
You know? And marketing yourself, like, I think it's extremely important to learn how to do that. In the beginning, you know, I wish there was like people that were able to like go to the gyms and teach these young kids. It's like, hey, bro, like Ryan Garcia, right? He started marketing himself, right, on social media since he was a kid. That's why he's super well known. He probably doesn't even need to fight if he doesn't want to, because he can make money off selling merch and other things,
right?
You know, but because he has such a big audience. But you know, he still does because of the love of the sport. You know, but he was a smart kid, or whoever got him on social media, you know, taught him right. And now look at him, you know.
Well, so, social media is the drug, bro. You start posting videos, you start seeing how many people are liking it. You know, you start posting content, you see how many people liking it, and then you're like, bro, like I can have 500. Then you post something out, you get 1,000, and then you're like, let me try to get 1,500. And so it's kind of like a drug. And so it's now who did it for him. I think he just smart enough to know what to put out and what kind of content people want to see.
Yeah, I mean, the more you do it, the better you get at it, you know. But if you're a business, you should keep it a little bit more disciplined, you know. Especially as a fighter, I think that should be kind of easier for them to understand, you know, versus like a random influencer that's, you know, trying to sell like makeup products or something like that, you know. But for a fighter, you got to keep it more disciplined. And speaking of that, like, how do you go about, you know, maintaining a healthy balance between, you know, you having to train and training your clients?
That's a great question. I think the discipline is just being able to set your time right. You know, I have a lot of my clients right now have been during the evening. I have maybe one in the morning, one or two in the morning, then a couple in the evening. And so in between that, just being able to put in the time and the effort to get everything done that I need to. And so whether it be I have two clients in the morning, I go straight to the gym right after that, you know, because I'll train them at Keys or something like that. And so I'll go straight to the gym and get my rounds in, make sure I get my rounds in. And then whenever I get another opening, I try to get my runs in or my, you know, whatever I can. And so just be, like you said, being able to be disciplined about it and being able to put in that time. And, you know, like Kobe Bryant once said, you know, you give yourself 100% of the time every day. And so that stacks up. And he used to say, actually, you know, like he would wake up at 9 a.m., right? And then he'll have 2 training sessions, but he switched it to 4 a.m. Now he had 4 training sessions instead of 2. And he did that every day. Eventually he started like overlapping people. Like and that's how he became great. And so I think just being able to be consistent 100% of the time and being better being that best version of yourself every day and just stacking until you overpass everybody.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Great example of Kobe Bryant too.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Listen.
Yeah. So speaking about that, community is always a big thing in gyms. What role would you say that plays in your boxing gym or in gyms in general? And how do you normally foster a supportive environment at the gym?
That's great. Yeah, community is everything. I think the community now at the current gym, if it's okay, it could be better. I think it's building, but you remember back in the days, SSC Straightforward Boxing Club, bro. It was it was more of a boxing gym, and so we would be in there. We'd learn off each other. Like my boy Kareem said, and everybody says, "Iron sharpen iron," and so. It makes it a little tough when you're either don't have around the same level, you know what I mean? Because you can't really how you gonna sharpen something. So um I think it's really important having a strong community, or having people that are about your level or a little higher. That way you're able to learn from each other, you can only get better from the people you hang around with and you're around. And so um I would say it's 100% important, man.
Yeah.
The way I foster it, I just create a healthy environment around me. The gym, everybody's, being a healthy environment, like, being able to be receptive and be 100% communicative. I think it's part of the strategies I use.
Yeah. Shout out to Kareem too. And, yeah, he was definitely helpful, back in the day as we were coming up in the boxing game, and I remember, yeah, that community was at SFC was nothing but fighters too. And yeah, shout out to Ben, like you said, Ben Batista.
Yeah.
He was able to have us all there, I always look back on that. I'm like, man, we were kind of lucky, what I mean? We found a little hole, for all of us to just learn and just get better ourselves and to keep ourselves out of trouble and become family. Like I still talk to like pretty much everybody there, all the fighters there, and we stay in touch. And it's great to still have that community. I think it was extremely important, and it's kind of cool to see that, Ben. It all started with Ben, right? And he was able to do that. So that's awesome. Yeah. It sucks that some gyms don't have that. They're not able to have that mentality or that community as like straight fighters. But I know that Hit Fit is a little bit more based off the fitness side of things, or like more cardio based. But at least they have a little bit of the fighting. There's also like
Yeah, for sure.
So let me ask you real quick too. What advice would you give someone looking to enter the boxing industry, either as a fighter or, in a business role?
What advice would I give a fighter? Okay, first of all, I would give a fighter advice on finding the right trainer. I think the right trainer is really important to succeed in this game. Being disciplined, don't let distractions come in the way of you succeeding in life or in whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, for example, me coming up, I had a lot of friends. And so being that I had a lot of friends that love to party, I was involved in that partying. So cutting out distraction is the biggest thing as a fighter. Once you start getting known, you start getting people wanting to hang out with you. People start inviting you, everybody. So learning how to say no, cutting out distraction is the biggest thing as a fighter that you got to learn. As a trainer, you said as a trainer?
As a business, like, someone who wants to come in as a business or trainer, coach?
Well, as a trainer, you got to learn the fundamentals, you know what I mean? And you got to get in the ring and feel what a 1-2 feels like. You gotta learn, the fundamentals and what it takes. Because I think there's I mean, you don't have to, but I think there's trainers that look at you, they work your corner, and they're like, go the 1-2, right? And then knowing that I'm inside the ring, and if I throw that one too, I know I'm going to get countered with that left hook because I see it and I felt it. And the trainer doesn't know that because he's never been in the ring or doesn't know that a certain thing, like there's certain conditions that you have in there that you got to take account for. And so I just think starting a business, just being able to see the lows and stick with your gut feelings throughout the lows and highs. So that's business part. As a boxer, if you want to be a boxer trainer, knowing the fundamentals and be like knowing what it feels like to be inside the ring. And as a fighter, I would say saying no to all the distractions.
Yeah, learn the discipline side. I think that a lot of young guys struggle with. It's not just fighters, but obviously as a fighter, you have to kind of step your game up with the discipline side a little bit more. Unless, if you want to be successful at it, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But so going back to kind of talking about the business side, how have you integrated technology to help you with your business?
I'm still learning to use the technology well. I invested in a lady with my great friend Christian, one of my good friends, Christian Daniels. He has a boot company called Christian Daniels Boots, and so he introduced me to a lady. She helped me form my website. So really being able to invest in your business, I think, is one of the biggest things I've done. And even though I haven't seen it's all like kind of paying off slowly, but being able to invest in good website, being able to invest in like business card, t-shirt, merchandise, is really important because you're building your brand, and it will eventually pay off, but we use technology, we use websites, and then we use a new one of like where they can sign up and whatnot. But as far as the other technology, what do you mean? What other technology would you say?
I think you pretty much covered it. You have the website, you have a scheduling platform or a payment gateway where they can pay you and stuff. The other technology would probably be like social media or any platforms you use to like host your clients on there, which you probably don't do because you're in person, so you don't really need that. So yeah, that's pretty much
okay
there. And yeah, speaking about Christian, he's going to be on the podcast soon, so I'm glad you brought him up. Nice. Stay tuned for the next podcast. He'll be on here as well. We'll be discussing how he started his business, and his boot company and his brand. So it's going to be exciting to have him on here as well.
Yeah.
So, coming here towards the end, let me ask you, what are some of your thoughts on the future of boxing as both a sport and a business?
It's all positive. It's all highs. I mean, just like the investment world, when you get into stocks, is like this, right? But it's going up, and so boxing is the same way. There's some downs, but for the most part, being that Jake Paul is being involved, we have a lot of events being involved with like MMA and boxers. I just see a positive outlook in the future, because it's being so much marketed in a bigger scheme that there's so much in the business side. You said in the business side?
Yeah.
In the business side, it's all appeal too, because we also have we know now that boxing helps with certain things, and it helps with depression. It helps with they have Rock City, which deals with people who have Parkinson's. They use boxing as a format, as a form to release some of that Parkinson, and so we're seeing all the benefits that boxing has. And once they know the benefits now, we know that boxing is not about, you could do boxing as a form of exercise. It's not, you don't got to get hurt, right? I got this girl that's boxing and she loves it, man. She's coming. She's like, man, I've been thinking about this every day. You know what I mean? And so I'm not having her hit nobody or anything. She just loves the technique of it, everything that comes with it, which is, your heart rate goes up, the feeling of hitting something but not getting hit back. And so there's so much positive involved with boxing. We just got to look at it. We can't just look at the bad and then ignore the good. And so I see a bright future.
That's good. Yeah. And I think that also like developing self-confidence is helpful because you develop that, learning self-defense in case of any sort of situation. I think that's also a good thing about boxing, to be able to defend yourself, especially for women out there, if they encounter any problems they may face, so how do you measure your success, in the ring and in the business world?
How do I rate my success?
Yeah. How do you measure your success?
How do I measure my success? Honestly, that's a great question. The way I measure my success would be by how much people I'm touching. You know what I mean? Because I think I was in this for the wrong reason before, but now it's just to be a light. You know what I mean? I feel like I believe in God a lot, so being able to be a great light in this world and be able to be a positive impact on people. That's how I measure my success, by being a great impact and by giving back to the community, by being positive, by being a positive institute in this place where sometimes it's all you see is bad. And so being able to be that light is where I see the best growth.
That's awesome. I think that's a fantastic question, man.
Yeah.
Being able to give back to people and touch people in that, positive way. I think that's awesome. So finally, let me ask you, what's next for you, and both in a professional setting, right, for your boxing career, your own boxing career, and as a trainer?
So I think with me overall, the biggest thing is stepping outside of my comfort zone. And I think the anxiety you get when you're about to go into the ring, I don't know if you remember the anxiety or, that kind of like, man, and so I want to feel that again, just because it brings so much like anxiety that I want to be able to deal with it. You know what I mean? So I'm looking to get in the ring maybe April, May. Not sure where, not sure with who. Maybe we're gonna go out to Tijuana, get a quick fight out there, then maybe fight out here two more times. But overall, the final vision is having my gym opened up in San Francisco and being for-profit, nonprofit, a nonprofit for-profit where we're able to open a door for youth where they're not paying a substantial amount of money, but we're still making profit from other things, and we're teaching class to like whoever it is, and so and just being a light, positive light, being given back, and so that's our future at Jonathan Chicas Boxing.
Awesome, man. Love it. Love to hear it. And I just want to give you a huge thanks for coming on today and talking to our guests, and sharing some of your insights in the game of boxing and your experience and everything that you've gone through. And now that you're starting your business, I'll make sure to include like your social links down in the description, as well as your website. So thanks again for coming on.
Amazing. I appreciate you for having me on here, and it's been a great interview, and yeah, hopefully we can work together pretty soon in other ventures.
Definitely.
All right, my man.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode with Jonathan Chicas. If his story has inspired you to face your own battles head on, remember, it's not about how hard you hit, but how much you can take and keep moving forward. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for notifications so you never miss an episode of Success Solutionz. Until next time, keep pushing, keep fighting, and keep creating your own path to success. I'm Eric Salinas, signing off.